Good morning, everybody. Great to see all of you here. I'm David Witkowski. I work with MBEP on the broadband team. I've had the great pleasure of following MBEP through their journey through broadband, which has been ongoing for some time. They were early leaders in seeing the development of internet connectivity throughout the region, and it's a great honor to be part of that team. I'm a resident of Santa Cruz County myself. First came to Santa Cruz County in 1980, so long-time resident of the area, and I've had an opportunity to see how the internet has grown. But there are challenges still after many years of trying to develop broadband for this region. It is a very diverse region, as we all know, and that's one of the things that I think we love about it, is that it is so diverse. But ranging from extremely wealthy to not so extremely wealthy, and having both urban and rural profiles makes deployment of broadband in the region a significant challenge. It becomes a challenge when you are trying to create a strategy that works for both downtown Watsonville, downtown Monterey, downtown Santa Cruz, incorporated areas, and then you go up into the Aptos Hills, or you go out into San Benito County, you go into rural Monterey County, and the solutions can be very different. As an engineer, I see those challenges vividly because I know what it takes to deploy networks, and I know that it isn't going to be one technology, one solution. It is going to be a variety of solutions, and I think that adds to the challenge that we face in the MBEP broadband team in trying to figure out how to apply those technologies in a way that makes sense. They are really engineered solutions for each community. So understanding the needs of the community, understanding what is currently available, and then matching that with the availability of funds, and just sometimes even permitting is a challenge to get these networks built. So my panel today, we will talk about those challenges at the regional level. We'll be hearing from the 3 counties, and then we're going to hear from a former FCC and then CPUC commissioner who happens to have been a resident of Santa Cruz County at one time. Aptos. And Aptos, go Aptos, right? Yeah, go Mariners. So we're going to talk about that individual challenge. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from them about what they're seeing in the region. And we will then discuss that after hearing from them. So thank you all for being here. We're going to go into the panel. I'm going to allow each of the panelists to introduce themselves as opposed to introducing them, because I cannot do their backgrounds justice. So I see Elisa has the microphone. Why don't you go ahead and start off with...
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Elisa Benson. I'm one of the Assistant County Administrative Officers for County of Santa Cruz. And my relationship to broadband is our Information Services Department is leading our effort, and I have sort of operational and policy oversight for them. I'm also an MBEP board member and have some deep roots in this issue. I got to mention to Rochelle that my first job out of college was at the CPUC working on broadband and telecommunications in the late 80s, early 90s. So this is a long-standing issue.
You heard enough from me, but I'm Chris Lopez, County Supervisor here in Monterey, representing the 3rd District, which is primarily the Salinas Valley cities of King City, Soledad, Greenfield, Gonzales, as well as a small portion of Salinas. I'm also vice chair at RCRC, which is the Rural County Representatives of California, representing 40 of California's 58 rural counties. And through them, I'm on the board of Golden State Connect Authority, on the executive board there as well. And I also happen to be the chair of the Joint Powers Authority called the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority, where we're doing things just a little different. And I look forward to sharing some of that with you today.
I'm the wonk, so I'm a former commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission, serving under Clinton, and then I served at the Cal PUC under Governor Schwarzenegger in 2006 to 2009. Right now, I still work very heavily in broadband policy, other areas too, but primarily broadband. I know a lot about the middle mile network that's being built, although I am not here today in that capacity. But I know all the alphabet soup of the Fed and state grants, so I am like a huge brain resource wonky person.
Hi, my name's Angela Curro. I am the supervisor for San Benito County District 4, which is our South County. That goes from South Hollister all the way down to King City, Coalinga, Piscinas, Panoche. I was elected last year and took office in January. I've worked in local government since 1987. I started off in Santa Clara County and migrated to San Francisco, and then also volunteered in Santa Cruz County because my elected official or in elections, I found my niche in elections as an election official, and Gail Pellerin, Assemblymember Pellerin, found out I moved to Santa Cruz County and said, if you live here, you have to volunteer in elections. And I was trying to get out, and a lot of them told me I could never get out of elections, and the one way I got out was by becoming an elected official. Now they can't pull me back, so that's a little bit about me.
Thank you all. I appreciate you being here. So we're going to talk about, at a regional level, about the challenges that you face in your counties, and then we're going to talk to Rochelle Chong about your perspectives relative to what we're doing locally and give a bigger picture in what you're seeing outside the region. So maybe there are some things that we're doing that can be learned from, or maybe there are things that other people are doing that we can learn from. So I'm going to start off with Supervisor Lopez. If you could describe and illustrate Monterey County's challenges in building digital equity and expanding broadband to residents and businesses.
So my expertise in this space really is Southern Monterey County, and I talked a little bit about the 5 cities that technically I represent in a way, but what I didn't share was the sheer size of the district. So my district is twice the size of the state of Rhode Island, 6 square miles larger in fact, 900 miles of unincorporated roads that run through that. And my residents are just as far flung. They're doing the things we need as a country that we heard the speaker talk about earlier, producing food, putting food on the table for our nation. But where they've fallen out of equity is in the digital space. We do not have the connectivity that we require, especially from what we experienced during COVID, to stay on par with our neighbors and friends. And so as we fall behind in those spaces, the industries that we're in fall behind as well. And we know that there's ag tech. We hear it's coming. You can't do that without connecting to the Internet of Things. So we have to make sure that we get in that space. The challenge, distance. That sheer distance for us is a challenge with the pricing of cables, and great thoughts, right, that we heard where the investment came in the space. But at the same time, the factories producing the cables and did not ramp up, so we were competing for the exact same equipment. And with that, we don't have that ability to do it alone. So I'll just share briefly. I know we're here on challenges, but I'll share the way that we're addressing it is by banding together. We created a joint powers authority with our 4 cities and the unincorporated portions of the county to not pool alone, but to pool with all of us in the same direction, to tell our story, to request connectivity. So our challenge is sheer distance and the economics of the people that we serve, right? They're not the ideal customer. They're not going to pay $250 a month for a bundle package. They need it piecemeal. They need to be able to address the cost at that low level. Those are the challenges we see in Monterey County at this point.
Excellent. Thank you. Elisa talked about
Oh, great, thank you. So on the other end of the spectrum, in terms of size of counties, we are the second smallest county in the state at, I think, 450 square miles land-wise. So very different challenge than Supervisor Lopez talked about. But really it comes down to terrain, population density, and affordability. When you look at our urbanized areas in County of Santa Cruz, we have a reasonable level of infrastructure penetration rates in terms of fiber, cable, and fixed wireless. So when you look in that part of the county, it's really around affordability. That can people afford those bundles that the supervisor talked about? When you get outside of that area, it's really around that question of terrain. We have hard to serve areas, high cost areas to serve. And population density. Again, you don't have the number of subscribers that are really going to incent our information service providers to make those investments. So that's where, similarly, you got to band together. And for us, we have to look at different kinds of technology. We have to look at different wireless solutions because fiber's not going to work. How are we getting through that? Well, we're working on a broadband master plan for the county, which really articulates the technical opportunities. So when those funding sources come down, we're ready to invest. And the other part of that is bringing together all those trusted messengers to talk with our communities around what programs are available, so they can get access to different discounts, so they can get access to equipment and understand how vital this infrastructure is.
Thank you. And Supervisor Currow.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm not going to repeat, but I am so parallel to both of our other speakers because my district is so very rural, and the terrain, because, remember, we're the home of the Pinnacles. So the terrain for getting broadband in our hard-to-reach areas is very, very difficult. But I also want to talk about, from San Benito County's perspective, is we are a very resource poor community, and equity is the key here in the conversation. And even now, there's been changes of where broadband priorities are going, and coming down 101, it was going to come through to San Benito County along 156, and now the priority, because of resources and funding, has routed it to Aromas, which is a very important area that needs broadband. It has a terrain issue. But the inequity of the fact that we are a low income community when it comes to our resources as a county. So our challenges are, we have people talk about they have staff and they're bringing people together. We just have our community members and us. We have a very small IT department. I am the chair of the IT committee, and unfortunately, I'm kind of the one that's bringing everyone together, saying we need to really look at how we can utilize these funds to bring affordable broadband to all of our community, but especially our low income. And their voices are not loud enough, so we have to speak on their behalf. So constantly re-advocating over and over and reiterating to people that we have a need and it's going to take time for us to bring our community together. But I know we have a strong community. We can do it. It's possible. There are many people in this room right now that make it possible and have the drive to move it forward. So I'm really excited to work with our local residents and our community members.
So Rochelle, from your perspective, you see things at the state, even the federal level. How do you see us comparing as a region based upon what you've heard?
So I ran around the state to 14 broadband meetings, May and June, and including one here in this county where I met a number of you, as a matter of fact. And I want to say that your challenges are typical of a number of regions. However, I want to say that you have a very outspoken set of counties here, and I want to commend you for that, because of all the 14 that I personally went to out of 20, I would say the grumpiest people about broadband were here and in the Central Valley. So I just want you to know that, and you should be proud of that. Because in my world, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Right. Okay, so access. The first thing I want to say is there is a funding palooza going on in broadband right now. We have massive amounts of money coming in from the feds. So there's a over $3 billion middle mile network. Think of it as the backbone of the internet being built throughout California, over 10,000 miles. It'll be done by the end of 2026. All federal dollars and a little bit of state. But it's a lot of money. It's unprecedented. Why is that important? It pushes the internet backbone closer to your rural communities, and the routes were planned to get to unserved and underserved communities. So this is a big deal. Then there's another big tranche of money, about $3.7 billion, that the California PUC is going to give out to internet companies that actually serve the customers and serve small business. And that's another big tranche. Right now, I was looking at one set. That one is $2 billion, and people put in applications for $4.6 billion. So you can see that the demand is there, and about 6 of them were in one of the 3 counties here. In all 3 counties. I was just looking at Amir because he and I are studying the same thing. Okay, so that's access. So you're going to see a big change in the next 3 years. So the next part, though, is adoption, and that means you have to get the people that aren't connected to understand why they want to be connected and help them connect. And I'm thinking particularly in your area about the migrant farm workers. I'm thinking about the Latino community, the non-English speakers, your seniors. By the way, foster youth, super needy, have no money to get anything. We need to help all of them get online. And so there are programs like the Affordable Connect program at the feds. It is going to expire next year, gives you a $30 discount on your internet bill, but we are working hard with the FCC and the White House to have it extended. And the White House has recently put out a statement strongly saying it's going to work to extend it and giving $300 million towards it. So that's an important effort for all of you to support at the federal level. The last thing is training, and all of you are very good about training. I met some amazing nonprofits and others in this community that were doing incredible things. We need to ramp that up. So when you're doing your funding, you need to think about how do we do technical support. So those are some things that I think are important. And by the way, wired, wireless, don't be picky. You have very tough areas to cover. Although fiber is great, you can't get it everywhere. Wireless, fixed wireless is just fine for most uses.
I appreciate that. So as you know, I'm a big proponent of wireless broadband, but having worked in the industry, I see all technologies being brought to bear, including the recent upgrades to the cable network using the DOCSIS 4. So that upgrade is being rolled out now, and it's really important. So I see when you talk about wired, wireless, DOCSIS, cable, there's a variety of things. I mean, there's really strength in numbers, and we all need to be on deck to make this happen. So I'm going to ask Supervisor Curro first. Can you talk about partnerships that you've leaned on as a county to deliver broadband and provide some insights into how those partnerships help?
Sure. Number one, RCRC and Golden State Connect Authority is our backbone for San Benito County when it comes to helping us through this. I don't know if many of you know, people think you're an elected official and you have staff. In San Benito County, we are handed a cell phone and a tablet and said, have a good time being an elected official. We don't have people. So our people are leaning on these associations, but also our community. San Juan Bautista Rotary is a very big driving force in San Benito County to bring broadband to all, and I can't thank them enough for what they have done. And I really got connected to this by them and by being a candidate. It's not like somebody said, hey, Supervisor Curro, you're gonna be our broadband, person. It was, I see the need in our economic development, and the future of our economy is all about connecting and educating, and the educational piece is huge. And that's when I'm going to be leading on our nonprofits and our organization-based our local organizational-based community members to help us with the educational process. Also, schools, our cities have been very supportive, but we are also wearing a lot of hats. So bringing people together and motivating them for the importance of broadband and making sure that they can see that this is a big picture situation where it's the future of our county and our community. And if we embrace this, it will only help our students, it will help our seniors, it will connect them to healthcare resources. It's amazing what COVID brought out of all of this. Is understanding that you can't do this alone. It is really, I'm gonna agree with Supervisor Lopez, it is a team. You have to rally a team together or you will never make it anywhere. So getting people on board and on the bus and moving forward is super important.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Elisa to talk about your team, Santa Cruz County.
Thank you. I'm going to give two examples around really important partnerships. I think the first one is Equal Access Santa Cruz, which is really a consortium with the County Office of Ed, Cruise.io, and Community Foundation, and many other organizations at the heart of it. I mean, I think we all knew broadband was a key to economic development, and I think, as you just mentioned, COVID demonstrated so much more. And so the Equal Access Group has really focused on vulnerable populations within Santa Cruz, both addressing that last mile through fixed radio and affordability over time and training, and brought it to very specific locations in our community and strengthening their overall broadband access. The other partnership I want to talk about is our Health and Human Services, our Public Defender Office, actually being another voice with our clients around ACP, around digital navigators through the libraries to bring more resources to people who are accessing the networks and broadband for the first time. It really is, it's not just a technical problem. I mean, I think that's the thing we all know. Yes, we need the hardware, but we also need the software, the people, our trusted messengers to connect and help folks access this really critical piece of infrastructure.
Shout out to the libraries.
Yeah, I'd second that. Having been involved with Santa Clara County's effort, City of San Jose, the library was key. Of course, Jill Bourne, the librarian, became the head of the Digital Equity Project, and that really made a huge difference. So I agree with that. Supervisor Lopez.
Nothing happens without partnerships. So I want to say first, the biggest partnership that made a lot of this possible was our members of Congress. I want to thank Zoe Lofgren, Jimmy Panetta, who went to bat for us to bring dollars into the region. I mean, without those bills, we would not have these opportunities. With that being said, no opportunity gets left on the table. I want to share just a couple. One is down in San Ardo, San Lucas. It's not public yet, so nobody tell anybody, please. We're right around the corner. With Charter Communications, we issued them a grant, and those communities for the first time are going to have fiber. That was $4.5 million of ARPA funding that for the first time they're going to have that connectivity, and that will be turned on in the next month. Extremely exciting. Another partnership, I see our partners from Cruise.io here. I want to thank them for what they did for the community of San Gerardo, who had no access to the internet during COVID, but they stepped up and got them better speeds than I've ever had at my house in Greenfield, and for no cost for 5 years. Incredible. So Cruise.io, well done. As we move forward, we need more partnerships, but there are several in the hopper. I talked a little bit about the hats that I wear at RCRC, Golden State Connect Authority, and the cities working together through the JPA have banded together to partner with Golden State Connect. And I will share, as you look at that first round of funding, many of us heard the term LATA, again, the acronym soup, which is local something technology.
Local Agency Technical Assistance.
There you go, LATA. Yeah. That funding came out, and our region in Southern Monterey County got more than any other in the state because we worked together, applied together, and were strategic about how we applied. It allowed us to invest and create a map for future deployment of fiber for our entire community. And when I say our entire community, I mean our entire community. Every single farm worker housing village that might not be in a downtown is covered, is mapped out to the military bases who lack access. Those partnerships are the ones that move us forward as a team, but it's all the way through, and nobody can be left out. Our private partners, our nonprofit partners, our government partners, it takes us all pulling in the same direction, and I think we're doing that, trying to be that squeaky wheel for Rochelle over there.
Rochelle, you want to comment? What partnerships are we missing, if any?
Okay, so partnering is where it's all at, folks. I am always a little nervous about cities doing it on their own just because cities don't tend to have network experience in-house. It's hard, okay? Some big cities can do it. Little cities, very hard. So what I've been really pushing in more rural areas is partnerships with ISPs. Many ways to do it. You can, for example, partner with, like there's a bunch of people partnering with Utopia, and they are doing a good job. They will come in, this very experienced network, and they will partner with your city. They will help you build a fiber network in your city. And think about what that can do. It connects your city hall, your schools, connects your sewer system. It can do a street traffic light, smart city type application. Then there are other partnerships where you have independents like Cruzio, like SurfNet, like South Valley Internet, like Hankins. They have been willing in these districts to come in and they will partner with you and do builds getting grants from the state, which comes from either state or federal dollars for infrastructure. Then in addition, I want to mention very strongly that at the PUC, there's a group called the Broadband Caseworkers, and they are experts in the PUC funding programs on broadband. So if you have a digital adoption program going on in your area, they can help you get an adoption grant. If you're a tiny city or region that needs broadband planning, where do we need to build it? Who does it need to go to? Where does it need to go? How fast does it need to be? They have a group that will help connect you with a planning grant so that you can get that done. Tons of resources available right now. So these little broadband caseworkers at the PUC can help identify what fund is right for you and help you with your application. I think that's important. Okay, so one little tiny example, South Valley Internet, who is a client of mine, they got a grant from the PUC for about $1.7 million, and they're connecting a migrant farm worker camp and an area, temporary housing for people that were formerly homeless. And they had the Rotary Club and a small nonprofit called Balanced Access put in donations so that these people in these areas will have free service for 3 years. So that's an example of a collaboration and a partnership between nonprofits, between a county, and between an independent who had the right idea. That's what I got for you, David.
Thank you very much. That was great. So I'm going to talk first to Supervisor Lopez, and I'm going to ask the same question of the whole panel. So how do you, I mean, you've worked with MBEP on this, obviously we've been part of this. What are your observations on that, and what have we provided in that regard? And how can we do better?
I don't think you can do better. I forgot to mention, but that South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority, we didn't have somewhere to tap in, meaning we didn't go to county council, we didn't go to county CAO and say, you need to step up and support this. Who stepped up? MBEP. MBEP was there with us and said, we are prepared, we've got staff for you, let's make this happen. So I have to thank Amir, who is our staff, to the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority, also wears the MBEP hat, and Tara. They're incredible in the way that they help our efforts continue to move forward, both in identifying potential future funding, but also making sure I's are dotted, T's are crossed as we continue down this path. But at the end of the day, it's organizations like MBEP that are the glue between those different entities that hold us up together. And when we're together, we're a lot harder to break. And trust me, people are trying to break us. But together with groups like MBEP, the progress will happen.
Thank you. Elisa.
It's really important for MBEP to continue to be the convener across the region. I mean, like we've described, we have similar issues, but a lot of this you have to address really in a specific location. How are you going to make it happen? And we need to learn from each other. We know how you do it in South Monterey County. Maybe there's something that we need to know. There's some special sauce that we can bring to, a similar situation in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So that's a really important, just bringing us together so we can learn, so we can support each other, so we can challenge each other. That always makes a difference. I think the other thing is just MBEP's effort to bringing dollars to the region, whether it's planning or other just more significant grants. We've got to work together at that. As Rochelle said, a lot of money is out there, and we need to be prepared to access it. And frequently, a larger application that has a broader reach is just going to score better. So we need to sort of get together and be sure we can just take advantage of those economies of scale and scope. And MBEP helps us do that.
Thank you. Supervisor Curran.
And I have to say, if it wasn't for MBEP, it wouldn't be happening in San Benito County. They have been such a resource for me to educate not just myself, but for our IT staff and our CAO, who is our former IT manager. which is a vacant position right now. So we are trying to pull together our resources, but if it wasn't for MBEP, we would not have the connectivity and the voice to advocate for our community. It is MBEP that keeps us present, they keep us informed, and they don't let us get forgotten. Because the one thing about San Benito County is everybody around San Benito County has more resources, but San Benito County is the heart of the future of where economic development could be, and MBEP has made us have a voice and a place on the map. And also Speaker Rivas, if it wasn't for Speaker Rivas, it's amazing what happens when you have a speaker from your community. All of a sudden people go, San Benito County? You mean not San Bernardino, you mean San Benito where Speaker Rivas is from? Yes. That's us. So the connectivity, meeting each and every one of you, if I haven't met you, I'd love to meet you. Having that connectivity and learning, such a great statement there. Learning from others, because we can't be the inventors of the wheel. We have to follow in the footsteps of others to be successful, only because of our lack of resources. So I hate to keep saying that we're poor, but we just don't have the same levels. So I thank them immensely, and it has been a real honor and privilege to be on this panel.
Thank you all. Rochelle, I'm going to ask you to close it out. So you helped with developing the CASLIF Consortia account grant process. It continues today. It funds 13 consortia across the state, of which CCBC, Central Coast Broadband Consortium, is one. What's your advice to the county representatives, to the folks, the stakeholders, on how CCBC can do better, how MBEP could do better? What are your thoughts? How can we make your life easier?
So I'm the mother of the California Advanced Services Fund, which was one of the first state broadband infrastructure funds in the entire nation. I think Kentucky beat us to it, but I was dragged to Kentucky by a staffer and realized in 2006, broadband is a huge issue and we need to address it in California because we're the home of computer technology, now AI and a million other things. So in 2011, instead of just being an infrastructure fund, which is what I put in when I was a commissioner, we then added this regional consortia piece. And why did we do that? Because we realized that really broadband is inherently local, because every region has different challenges, and I can tell you that for sure. So what's important is that we wanted to put in a local expert who would be in charge of, 3 to 5 counties that would meet everybody that's important there and start talking about why broadband's important for economic development, for education, for healthcare, yada, yada, yada. So we funded it. It was $10 million to start. It's $10.7 million now. And what I love about our regional consortia and about a mayor who had me come here today, is that they really get it. They're running around like maniacs trying to explain to everybody why it's important, why broadband mapping is important, why being a squeaky wheel is important, and why you have to have resources to apply for all this once-in-a-lifetime broadband funding that's flowing across the nation. And I do think this is a once-in-a-lifetime broadband funding opportunity. And I've been in this game a really long time. So I'm running around talking to all these regions just like you to say, apply, you've got to apply. And so to do that, you've got to come together. It's better to do it as a region because regional applications tend to get granted more. And you have a fantastic resource right here in MBEP. They sponsored the regional meeting that we had of the statewide planning. So they know a lot. Amir is very, very knowledgeable. David is very, very knowledgeable. We got a terrific team, but you have got to go use them. And you got to be squeaky. That's my best advice to you. Squeaky wheels get the grease. Letters of support, your members need to be involved, your supervisors, your school superintendent, your CBOs, everybody, the hospitals, the universities, you've all got to get together and as a region demand action. 57 seconds, back to you, David.
And with 50 seconds, I'm going to say thank you to the panelists. Really excellent having all of you here. And Rochelle, thanks always. You and I have known each other for a while. I always appreciate it. It's been a while.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Please give our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you all. All right.